As everyone's joining, we do just want to test out the chat. So if you can drop in the chat, let us know what kind of youth activity center you run, and if you're processing payments or not. If you are, who are you processing with? Is it SafeSave, CNH, Jackrabbit Pay? Let us know. We do like to see the variety of businesses that we have on the webinar, and then what you all are actually currently using. So we'll just do this for a few more minutes while we continue to let a few more people in.
So many like familiar names joining us. It's awesome.
Love to see it. Make my chat bigger. Swim school, safe, gymnastics. Okay. Ooh, we're having a variety and I like this. Swim, gym, quite a few safe. Awesome. Let a couple more minutes. Urena and Tracy, do you hear an echo or is it just on my end?
It's just on your end. I think you're all right.
Okay, good. Then we'll live with it.
I couldn't live with it. I'd be like pausing every 2 minutes. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Dance studio, awesome. Okay, looks like we do have quite a few. Safe, CNH, dance gym, swim, cheer. Love it. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so while we get started, after we had a successful panel this summer, whether you were able to join that or not, we created this Ask Me Anything panel series just to be more interactive, some crowdsourced questions that were submitted ahead of time. I do hear an echo. Molly, can you help me watch that?
Yep, I'm happy to.
Awesome, thank you. So we had our first successful panel last month, if any of you were able to join. And then we're glad you're here for our second session of our Jackrabbit Pay panel series. So today we're actually going to focus a little bit on uncovering the truth about the payment miss, discuss some benefits of Jackrabbit Pay for those that are not familiar with Jackrabbit Pay, want to know more about the switching, the process, and then just answering your questions. That's what we're here for. So you'll notice we do have a few Jackrabbit experts on our panel, along with a current client who is going to offer his perspective as somebody who has already switched the process from a previous processor to Jackrabbit Pay. So just a few housekeeping notes before we do get started. This is a meeting, so you can turn on your camera if you'd like. We do love to see your beautiful faces, just to, again, kind of make that connection with the names. It is not required, so feel free to keep it off. I understand how that can be sometimes as well. We ask that if you can please stay muted unless you do have a question on one of the topics we're talking about. We do want to just try to minimize some of those distractions. And then this session is being recorded, so we'll send you a copy of the recording within 48 hours. So if you have to step away, you want to share with a colleague, or if you're just not able to join us live and you're going to be able to watch this later or are currently watching the recording now. So please feel free, utilize the chat. We do want to see the engagement with each other, with our panelists. So as we're talking about topics or questions, feel free to chime in there. We do have a Q&A in this Zoom as well. So at the end, if we have some time remaining, if there's a specific question that you were able to submit ahead of time, and as we're talking, it comes up, please feel free to use that so that we can come back and answer those and they don't get lost in the chat. So before we get started, I'm going to launch a quick poll that will show up on your screen about payment myths. So we just want to know, which of these payment myths have you heard? Is it switching processors is too complicated? You'll lose revenue during the transition? Parents won't accept your surcharges, or chargebacks cannot be won?
I love that
And
chart.
I love to see this. Look at this participation. I love it. Okay, it's jumping around. So far, it's looking to me like parents won't accept surcharges is the big hitter.
Oh, make sure that I talk about that That's a good one.
That is very good. Yeah. Oh, okay. Switching processors, too complicated. Coming in second.
I just got my muted.
Yeah, love it. Okay, awesome. This is good for us to kind of think about too. It looks like parents won't accept surcharges, so we will definitely be touching on surcharges a lot in this webinar. I know there were quite a few crowdsourced questions too that came up about surcharging, so we will definitely, Irina, make sure to touch about helping parents kind of get on board with that too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So moving on to the experts of today's show. So I'm excited to introduce you all to our amazing panel for today. Starting out with Irina Jones. She is the Director of Client Success here at Jackrabbit, whose team does an amazing job either supporting our clients who are exploring or even navigating their switch to Jackrabbit Pay. And then she also does a great job along with her team of just taking care of our clients, our support team, that's using all of our Jackrabbit products. So anything Jackrabbit, Urena is our girl for that. Tracy Franklin, she is one of our, we shortened her title a bit, but she is our e-payments expert here at Jackrabbit, and more importantly, our chargeback champion. So we will have a lot today on just chargebacks, as I saw that was also one item in that poll that we're kind of curious, or even in our crowdsourced questions. So she's our go-to lady on the chargebacks. And then last but certainly not least, we have Trey Thompson, who is co-owner of Backstage Dance Studio, which has been, I just realized this too when I was looking at this, but in business for 45 years, which is incredible. And he's been a Jackrabbit client for 10 years. So celebrating that 10-year mark, which is awesome. And we're glad to have him today. He will be here as, again, a representative of a client who's actually gone through the process of switching to Jackrabbit Pay. So he will be able to share all of his experience and expertise from that point of view. And I'm Ashton. I'll be today's host and moderator for this amazing group. So before we get into the crowdsourced questions that will make up a majority of today, there were some great questions that were asked. But for those that may not be familiar with Jackrabbit Pay, it was first released to clients in 2023 with that direct integration into Jackrabbit, providing the integrated seamless payment management support system. So Urena, I know on our last Ask Me Anything panel, you shared the in-depth evolution of Jackrabbit Pay, why we developed it being a fully integrated solution. Can you share a brief overview of why we developed Jackrabbit Pay and just a few benefits we've seen with clients using it so far?
Absolutely. And shout out to my girls at Vega in Washington. Hey, girls. I've been around here too long. I have too many friends out there. So Jackrabbit Pay started, oh gosh, a couple of years ago is kind of when we first went to market. The purpose behind Jackrabbit Pay as a company for Jackrabbit was to build more of an integrated solution. Prior to that, we had partnered, with other payment processors, which meant that many of our clients had a relationship with two companies, Jackrabbit and them. And so we wanted to bring much of that in-house to provide the same level of support, the same level of product integration in terms of functionality, and then, basically help expand our markets in ways that the industry was dictating. And we're going to talk about a few of those things. Within Jackrabbit Pay, when we came out with Jackrabbit Pay, there were some standalone elements, meaning, we started with something called next day payout processing. So when you process with Jackrabbit Pay, you're receiving the net deposit of what you transact. So if you transact 1,000 transactions in a month, Jackrabbit takes those fees off the top, and then the next day the payout is initiated. It's a little different than some of our other processors where you wait till the end of the month and then there's a lump chunk taken out for your fees. So that was, one of the first things that we kind of started. We're coming out with more functionality within the product. meaning ACH transactions, bank account transactions. There's more information coming back for those with Jackrabbit Pay compared to our prior relationships. We came out with surcharging, which we're going to talk a lot about today. The support model in terms of the team that you use for Jackrabbit class to ask questions about the product. We also have a similar team in Pay. And, they are there for the same hours and with the same amount of effort and with additional efforts like chargebacks. We're going to talk about those today. And that's why Tracy's my guru here on chargebacks and helping people win back some of those cases. So, we've grown to 1,500 clients. We're hoping to expand it even more by showing people the benefits. And yeah, it's been a great evolution.
Awesome. Thank you, Irina. And as Irina kind of touched on the chargeback, we'll talk about it. Tracy, you're the chargeback champion. Last we looked, we do have a chargeback win rate of 87%. Can you walk us through a little bit how Jackrabbit Pay does such a great job of supporting the clients through that process and just making us a true partner with them?
Absolutely. So when you receive the notification from us, it's an automated notification. I also received that notification. And at that point, I began gathering evidence from within your database. So I go through things like your policies, check to see how the card was added, take a look at whether receipts are sent or not. And I just really pay attention to the evidence that is needed to defend your chargebacks. And then also the reason why there was a chargeback. Was it a duplicate process? Are they claiming it was fraud? So basically, we work both proactively and reactively. So proactively, if I'm in your database and I see that you don't have policies that kind of cover the reason for the chargeback, I might reach out to you and let you know that there's some things that potentially could be a problem going forward with any future chargebacks. And I've also had people reach out to me when they're converting, asking for me to take a look in their database just to check for things that kind of would protect them even further. As far as the winning goes, it all comes down to that evidence. So that's why we really take a strong look at what you have going on.
Love that. Thank you, Tracy. Yes.
There was a question around that, Ashton, sorry, in the chat.
Yeah, I was going to save all those to the end if that's okay, just to touch on the crowdsource, but we will definitely get back to all those for sure at the end. Keep asking away. I love it. It's great. So in addition to being that integrated system, seamless experience, our chargeback win rate, clients who have made the switch, I know we touched on it, Irina touched on it, but the surcharging to help recoup the cost of those credit card processing fees. We did see a lot of crowdsourced questions, so we'll touch on this more later as well. Business financing loans with the quick access to capital is another kind of great thing to keep in mind, just a hassle-free application without affecting your credit. The ACH decline visibility. So a difference between other processors is you'll see those right inside Jackrabbit on the transactions tab of the family's account, which is great. And then just true net deposit. So what you see is what you get. What you get has the processing fees already deducted. So a couple other good points to kind of keep in mind with Jackrabbit Pay. Along the surcharging, Irina, I know, again, hot topic, but on our last Ask Me Anything panel, one of our current clients page, Saya, want to make sure I said that correctly, she shared how her studio is surcharging and that it pays for her office manager's salary, what she saved, which is incredible. She mentioned like she communicated it in advance to parents and that made it seamless for them. So I want to ask you, what are some other wins that maybe you've seen our clients have since implementing surcharges, or other tips, advice for attendees here on surcharges?
Awesome. I absolutely can. And let me talk a little bit too about the conversion of getting parents to accept surcharging, which we noted earlier. So let's talk high level. What is surcharging? So surcharging is the ability with Jackrabbit Pay to attach a fee on top of processing for your parents up to the rate that you are charged for credit card processing. So if, for example, you are charged 2.89% by Visa and MasterCard for credit card processing, you can recoup up to 2.89% of the transaction back in your pocket. So the parent would go to enroll in a class, they would see the tuition value there, and then they would see the percentage of the surcharge. You can go below that surcharge and only recoup a portion, or you can recoup the whole thing. There are still additional charges with processing, per transaction, but that percentage fee is available for you to recoup back from parents. Surcharging has taken off, I believe, kind of since COVID. COVID is when we really started to see a lot of people asking for it. You started to see it on things like DoorDashing, my Walmart application. I see it, as ways for people to kind of collect some of that surcharging. If parents do not wish to surcharge, they can use a bank account, which is not legally able to be surcharged, or a debit card. So debit cards are something that legally we're not allowed to see surcharge either. So as an organization, and this is something that you should talk through with my team, you should make some decisions on how you communicate that. And so communicating to your parents in advance saying, as of this date, we will be, trying to recoup some costs. We will be processing a surcharge. You can either state that they're not allowed to use debit cards, or you can encourage people to avoid the fee with debit card. It's really a choice. I tend to lean more on the don't allow debit cards, but that's an individual business choice. Other things that you should look around as a business is, what are your competitors doing? What does your market tolerate? I do feel like surcharging is a bit of a regional thing. Some of the more metropolitan areas like New York, Dallas, Texas, some of the larger areas, they seem to tolerate it much more. And that's a feel that you could have with your parents through communicating with them in advance. If you did it for a period of time and the pushback was too great, it's a super easy thing for us to turn off. And that's just a conversation with our team to say, what, I'd like to remove surcharging. So surcharging is a percentage up to the point that you're processing or below. It doesn't apply to bank accounts or debit cards. You can choose the rate that you'd like to surcharge. And then there is communication that you should have in advance to warn your parents about surcharging.
I just wanted to add one quick thing.
Please, Tracy. Yes.
As a Canadian, we have Canadian clients, and there is a cap for Canadians on surcharging. You cannot surcharge more than 2.4%.
Thank you. That is a really great point. Yep. And we just released surcharging in Australia. So that's one of the new things too.
Urena, in Australia, debit cards and EFT POS can be surcharged.
They cannot be. And
they can be in Australia.
In Australia. I'm sorry.
Not specific. In Australia. Yes.
In Australia. Thank you.
Love that. Thank you, Anne, for chiming in too. I did, Trey, want to ask you too, just from your perspective of switching over to Jackrabbit Pay, is your studio passing on the surcharge to your families? And if so, what has that transition for you been like to pass those on?
Yeah, thanks, Ashton. So we did turn on the surcharging. That was kind of one of the big reasons for us to switch. So we were hearing both in the Jackrabbit users Facebook group, as well as a member of More Than Just Great Dancing, separate from Jackrabbit, was hearing and seeing a lot of people that were, starting to switch over and to pass on those surcharges. And I'll be honest, a couple of years ago, I said no, that's, that's annoying. Like it's just the cost of business, like include that in your tuition. But we are in the process of building a new building and doubling the size of one of our locations. And so at that point, kind of every dollar counted, and started to say okay, well, businesses all around are doing it. I currently pay for my lawn crew on a credit card and pay the fee just because I've been too lazy to switch to a checking account. And sure, it aggravated me when I first did it, but I still use the same lawn company. And the big reason why I kind of made the decision that we would go ahead and switch was we were still offering a way for them to avoid the fee. So that was a huge line item on our P&L and a huge expense, for the merchant fees. And so it was well, families that want to avoid it can easily switch over to a checking account. And those that don't care and are willing to pay it will pay it. And then that's, helping our bottom line. We did the, communications, Jackrabbit, the guide that they all sent out, and we just adapted that. We actually made the switch. So we take registration starting in March for the fall session starting in August. We actually didn't announce it until end of July. So 2 weeks out, we sent kind of an onboarding email and announced it there that there was an update to our policies for billing, and that to avoid the pass through, we did the full amount. Then they needed to update to a checking account. We have around 630 dancers between both of our locations. And I mean, I knock on wood, but still it's been a few months since we've released it, received zero pushback from families, which was huge. So we just continue to, like, each week we would just update, in our kind of onboarding emails, remind families of that. And then lastly, in Jackrabbit, we just updated it as an agreement when they're registering that they agreed to that fee. As well. So it's been a huge win for us. My biggest regret's not doing it sooner.
Can I just piggyback a
Love
little,
it.
Ashton? So I just
Yes.
want to be really clear that, for some people, ACH or bank accounts, it is just a setting. It's something that you ask for. We can turn it on for you or off. But one of the things that people tend to avoid with bank accounts sometimes, so it's just part of your decision-making process, is credit cards are real time. They are approved or they declined. You know that money is there. With bank accounts, they take a few days to make their way through the financial network and either come back as declined for non-sufficient funds or not, which means that you have to do a lot more chasing of people should they decline. So just something to be aware of, in your ratio of bank accounts to credit cards.
Yeah, that was definitely pushback that from our billing manager that I was getting. They were concerned around that because we had previously had ACH as well, and we do have some of those kickbacks. So great point. For me, ultimately, I decided that the number that
the ratio was different. Exactly.
Was more than we would make up for it, even if we had a family not pay and then quit or leave, that we would more than make up for it in the surcharges. But certainly agree that's been like
Great point,
but I've not seen a significant change.
Thank you.
Yeah, love that. All great points. Yes. Thanks, Trey and Urena, for piggybacking on that. And I know there was one additional thing, Tracy, just from your experience and on our last panel with Paige. And I see there's chatter kind of in the chat too, but what alternatives are there for customers that pay with debit cards, since debit cards are not surchargeable?
Well, actually, Paige brought it up, and I found it such a great piece of advice. Is she offers her families the opportunity to enter their ACH details instead of using that debit card, because the rate is lower for ACH payments. Then she's not getting such a hit because you pay the same rate for a debit card as you would for the credit card. So she was asking parents who paid with debit, because you can see it in your reporting, what the funding source of the card is. She was asking them just to switch over to ACH payments. So that way, at least if they're going to pay with their bank account, it's coming off of ACH instead. But like Urena and Trey both mentioned, the timing is a little bit different for ACH payments, but we have actually have integration where we update the transaction for you. So for anybody who's with CNH Financial or SafeSave, it's no longer just the email that's telling you that the payment failed. We actually have it updated within your Jackrabbit database, letting you know why it failed, when it failed, so that way you can recollect those funds.
Love it. Thank you. And finally, before we get to the questions, I know some of you may want to know what's new, what's next for Jackrabbit Pay. We're always evolving, making things better. As you can already see, our evolution has grown tremendously. So Urena, our team has been doing a lot of great work. Can you talk a little bit about what's new, what's coming next for Jackrabbit Pay?
Awesome. I'd love to. I do want to highlight what Tracy just said. If you are on another payment processor that is not Jackrabbit Pay and you have an ACH transaction fail, that is not updated in the database like it is with Jackrabbit Pay. So you get an email saying the Jones family didn't have sufficient funds. You then have to go into the family, find the transaction, and update it there. With Jackrabbit Pay, we do have the webhooks involved there so that those things are automatically updated in the database, which is an advantage. Surcharging, you know, we've had that for some time now. It's just being released out in Australia, as Anne mentioned. Payment terminals. So at the end of the month, you have the ability to sign up and purchase a swiper. What's really cool about these swipers is that you can use them remotely, so they're not tied with the cable to your front desk. You can actually take them to a recital and process payment there. Google Pay is in, I'm going to call it beta. It's being tested right now, and that's imminent. And then shortly after that, we're hoping early in the new year to add Apple Pay. So those are options for your parents. And, you know, I'm an old chick because, you know, when I log in and I'm like, dag nabbit, I can't remember my credit card, that Google Pay option is fantastic. So that's a really great one for us.
Yes, I know we're all excited. The terminals, the digital wallets. I know myself, I'm going somewhere, my phone, everything's right there. I'm just tapping it.
Scary. It's scary.
Scary,
True.
True. And lastly, Trey, I'm just curious before we jump into the questions, and I'm sure our guests probably are too, but what made you decide to check out Jackrabbit Pay as an option? I know you mentioned surcharging. Was there anything else, or was that the big hitter for you?
Honestly, that was the big hit, as well as the ACH return, like the ability to not only now that the balance updates, but love that now we can make the refunds in Jackrabbit. So like one less system to have to log into when doing those transactions. So I think one thing to note, you know, the biggest change for me has been with those ACH, since you can't refund right away or void right away, having to wait those 5 days. That has been a change, or, you know, just something for us to keep track of. But the ability to do really everything within Jackrabbit was also enticing, on top of the surcharging.
Love it. And we're glad to have you, Trey. Okay, so now let's dive into probably what you all are waiting for, getting your questions answered. This is the Ask Me Anything, so we do want to make sure that we touch on all of them. Some questions you may notice are a little bit similar, so we might group them together for the panel. There are maybe a few others that are repetitive, but we do want to make sure that we touch on all of them for you guys. So Tracy, we are going to start with you. This first one was submitted by Pam. What is the cost of processing credit card charges?
So that really depends on your processing volume, whether you're a new company coming to us, or if you're a conversion. We take a look at, you know, what your anticipated processing history is. If you have documentation to back that up, so we can obviously confirm. But per transaction fees apply to all payment types. So that's 30 cents per transaction, and we have processing rates that start at 2.89%, but that does change depending on your processing history.
Awesome. Thank you. Urena, going to you next. We did have a lot of great questions on just how Jackrabbit Pay is really different than the other processors, SafeSave, CNH. And these were submitted by Todd, Heather, Patricia, Rachel, Rochelle, some similar ones from Lori, Nancy, and Joe. So how is this Jackrabbit Pay different than current payment processing that they might be using, like CNH and SafeSave? Does it replace them? Will switching cause me to be billed a departure fee?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. A really great question. So Jackrabbit is instead of SafeSave or CNH. It is the own standalone product that integrates fully with Jackrabbit. We have partnerships with SafeSave and CNH. And so I feel like we've teased a lot of the fact that by being an integrated payment provider under the same umbrella, you know, the added advantage, of course, is the chargeback support and regular support. But then, you know, in the application, the ability to surcharge, the ACH webhooks that Trey mentioned in terms of payments that fail, refunding, Google Pay, Apple Pay, those types of things. So it would require a transition from one of those providers to Jackrabbit. And we'll touch on some of that too, I feel like. Is there a cost to leave your former merchant processor? The answer is no. Now, there is the option, and we'll talk a little bit more about transitioning your credit cards over from SafeSave. They are the only ones that allow it. There is a cost for that, and we can touch on that a little later if you like.
Awesome. Tell me the answers now.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I think I missed that.
I think she wanted to hear
Maybe.
about the cost of that now. We have a few more questions that relate to that, if that helps. Like, we will be addressing that before the end of the webinar, if that's okay.
Okay, moving on to the next one. Tracy, this one's for you. Submitted by Rod and Joan. Then we had a similar one from Kim. Currently using SafeSave. They'd be interested in switching to Jackrabbit Pay only if it can happen seamlessly to port over the billing contacts and info. And then if
There it is.
also changing from current payment processor, do families need to re-enter their credit card information during registration? So kind of put together there, Tracy.
Okay, perfect. So SafeSave does offer the ability to purchase your Vault IDs. They have a minimum charge of $500. So this covers your first 1,000 Vault IDs. And then after that, it's 50 cents per Vault ID. And then as far as it being seamless, yes, it is seamless. We are able to help facilitate that transfer of Vault IDs. You do have to work with them as well you have to request it from them. So we walk you through that entire process after we have the quote call with you. And then as far as changing from current payment processor, if you're with C&H Financial, we will work with you for timing to kind of work through that conversion, only because, like you mentioned, Urena, that C&H Financial does not offer the Vault ID transfers. So we would work with you to do the purge. So the purge is the deleting of your Vault IDs and having your families re-enter. Let me just double check to make sure that I covered that. And they would need to re-enter if you're C&H, or if you choose not to purchase the Vault IDs from SafeSave. So typically, if you're under 200, 300 Vault IDs, we might recommend waiting until your next registration just to save you that $500, because 500 is a lot.
And you know what, to feed off of what Tracy said, I feel like a lot of people chose not to purchase their Vault IDs, and instead we coordinate a time with you. Okay, on this date at this hour, we're going to remove all of the old credit cards from your account. It then, and I think, Trey, you might have done this, but then send a communication out to your parents asking them to log into the parent portal. As soon as they log in the portal, we updated the portal functionality. It's the first thing they're hit with. So the first thing is, you don't have a payment on file, please add it. In my experience, having talked with several clients, it went pretty darn good. Tracy, would you agree with that feedback?
Absolutely. And another thing with that too is, if you have long-standing families that have an older card on file, it allows you to have the most updated card on record. So it gets rid of some of those cards that maybe have a closed account or anything similar. They were with you last season and they've come back this season, their card on file, they closed it, don't realize it, you're using an old card. It helps to kind of weed out some of those older ones as well.
Yeah, and I know, Urena, I was going to tag Trey in here next. You kind of led right into that. So Trey, I know with your experience switching, you did vault some of those, but then there was a chunk that weren't able to with the transition. So did you want to touch a little bit about how our team helped support you and how you actually got that switching over?
Yeah, so yeah, we did make the decision to go ahead and pay for the vault transfer. We figured we would more than make up for that fee with the surcharging in month one. So our thoughts were, with the potentially, frustrating update to families, we wanted to make it as easy on them as possible. I want to say 5% or less of our families did not, their billing information didn't vault over. So thankfully, there was a way to filter for families that were missing billing information. So we were able to just filter on those families and send them a mass email from Jackrabbit, just letting them know that, their payment information didn't transfer. As a reminder, we were going to be having this fee if they can go in and update either with the credit card or with the ACH. And so, of course, communications with, I'm sure everyone deals with families. It took a couple of follow-ups for some, but it was a pretty easy, reach out initially, and then just had our admin team reach out individually when we got down to the last couple of families.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
And so I just want to clarify too, that Vault ID cost is a $500 one-time cost. And as Trey mentioned, that puts the credit card information in for the parents. There's no reason to have to re-enter it at this point. And so that's the advantage of vaulting the cards, if that's of concern.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to our next one that we have here. Irina, this is for you, submitted by Todd, Colleen, and Jessica. How can we insert a processing fee that will help cover the processing costs for those who use credit cards for payment? I know we've touched on this, but if you just want to kind of reiterate.
So that is surcharging. So surcharging is what allows you to sort of recoup some of the costs. That is one advantage of Jackrabbit Pay, along with the chargebacks. Not everybody has chargebacks. I see a comment out there that they've seen two, which is really fortunate, because poor Tracy can tell you that some other organizations get a lot more than that. So you live in a good area, and so that assistance. So the rate transparency. So, depending on what you're paying with CNH, it behooves you to have a conversation with Jackrabbit Pay and say, where are my rates? They should be pretty compatible. We have seen scenarios that we've saved people, a fair chunk of change. It's like upping your cable bill, right? You always want to check in. So that advantage through surcharging is absolutely available. And then as well, the other functionality that we mentioned that Pay offers as an integrated service.
Awesome. And then Tracy, moving down to the bottom here, this was submitted by Teresa. Just wanting to know, what are like the top 5 things to know when switching from SaySave to Jackrabbit Pay, and then we'll tag Trey in to maybe add any additional ones.
Sounds good. So I did make some notes just because I wanted to make sure that I had 5.
I love it.
The first one is definitely to evaluate your timing, because I know it's not always the case with swim schools, because usually it's concurrent sessions that are running, but for gymnastics and dance, typically there's like a registration date, maybe for a new session or for your summer versus your regular school season. So just timing it out usually helps people with the transition. And then the other thing, making sure, I know Urena said that there's no cost, but with certain processors, sometimes they'll have an early cancellation fee. So just checking your contracts and making sure that you've given them enough notice, because sometimes if it's less than 30 days, they will hit you with an early withdrawal fee. And then I went out of order here, so I'm just checking my notes. Oh, checking your active families versus your inactive families. So if you are going to be paying for your Vault IDs, just going in and cleaning up your active versus inactive. So if we choose to only take the active families, that might save you some money as far as how many Vault IDs you're paying for. Whereas you might want to have everybody that has ever registered with you that you haven't put into your lead file. And then reviewing your policies. So making sure that you have an up-to-date payment policy that includes refunds, your cancellation policies, and authorization, making sure you have that covered. It helps with your chargebacks, as well as just making sure that everybody who is coming in is going to be re-agreeing to those policies with your new processor. It's just helpful. And then communicating. And I know Trey said that he did a really great job of reaching out to his families, letting them know ahead of time, and then continued communication for any of the new families that onboarded. And I think that communication is probably the #1 thing that I would say.
Awesome. Yeah. Trey, anything maybe to piggyback or add to that?
No, I mean, I really think Tracy covered it. Agree, communication's key. And I would say the policies is one thing. Didn't miss, but I have on my list to go back and update is we did do the surcharge policy, but what we don't have is, and we never have, so who knows how much money's been lost there, but when there's a kickback, there's a fee, and that should be passed on to the customer, and we're not doing that today. So I have that on my list. I know. I never have. So that is something that I have on my list to go back and update so that we can start passing along that fee when there is a kickback.
Love that. See, we all learned some new things that we always gotta do.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to the next one. Urena and Tracy, feel free to add additional insight, but submitted by Cole. I want to learn more and hear how other swim schools are using Jackrabbit Pay and how they transitioned.
So I think Tracy kind of touched on this, because swim schools tend to be more perpetual or session based. So I hope that I'm answering effectively the concerns, but you know, I would say that it really depends on how you operate as an organization and picking that perfect time, which that timing is coordinated with our team. We don't do anything until we say, okay, 9 a.m. on this date, you know, we will do a transition with you. You know, we can absolutely connect a client with somebody from a swim school or a dance school or a gymnastics school to talk about their experience. I mean, Trey's been fantastic. And so if you had specific questions with a swim school, we can certainly connect you with that. If you're doing things by session, it does tend to make things a little cleaner because, you know, parents are expecting that it's, you know, the new time to enroll and update and take care of those things. And so I feel like the timing is a communication piece that if you are interested, you should communicate with the team and talk through.
And then my experience is just usually what happens is we get everything approved. We wait until they've processed the most current session, and then it gives them the time from the time they've processed that payment and collected from everybody until the next for anybody to update their cards if they didn't do a Vault ID transfer, or if they did do a Vault ID transfer. Once we have everything in place, you know, we just move forward. So it just kind of depends which route you're going into, but we discuss that with you during your call as well. So if you have any concerns about timing, you just bring it up to us and then we work through it with you.
Awesome. And Tracy, back to you. Submitted by Courtney, and then there was a similar one by Joe. What are the associated costs, and are we able to get rate quotes? Does the rate the customers pay vary depending on the type of card? Can they still use debit cards? I know we talked about, if you can touch on some of those pieces.
So again, the rates start at 2.89% with a per transaction fee of 30 cents. You would need to book a call to find out if that's the rate that you're eligible for, or if you're eligible for a lower rate. Other fees that come up from time to time, obviously you would know this, Trey, the ACH late return chargeback fee. So that's for if you have a failed ACH payment. Those come out at the end of the month. They're calculated at the end of the month and come off of your next deposit. So those fees they're all per use. So it's not like you get charged for anything you don't use or anything that doesn't occur. One other fee that comes up, obviously, I'm in credit card chargebacks. So if you had a credit card chargeback, that fee would come out also at the end of the month. I think that answers kind of.
Well, American Express is a different rate, obviously.
It is a different rate, absolutely. So American Express, because they are a rewards card, they have a higher rate. So typically that is a starting rate of 3.39%, and it varies as well according to your processing volume.
And all of these rates are provided to everybody that asks for a quote in a rate table. So
absolutely. So
they're presented up front.
Once you reach out to us and we have a phone call, we discuss your processing needs, then you are provided with a free quote. You don't have to follow through on any of it, but once you have had that call with us and you're ready to move forward, you just respond to that quote and then we move forward from there.
Love it. And Irina, this was submitted by Carissa and then similar by Brett and Tara, just about the process and switching. So wanting to learn more about the process, how you got clients on board with the new pay system, transition completed, how long it takes, all of the transition process coming to you, Irina.
And I feel, again, we've touched on a lot of it in terms of some of the examples that we've given. I guess if I was to sort of summarize it in a nice little bow, the process is reach out to our team, get a quote, make a decision, do a comparison, you know, and if that transition is something that you want to do, make a decision. Do I want to surcharge or don't I want to surcharge? Depending on the processor that you're coming from, you know, do I want to purchase those Vault IDs or can I purchase those Vault IDs because it's only available with SafeSave? And then planning the communication to your parents and the execution timeline, which is a partnership with our team. Okay, we want to make this transition on this date. I will send out my communication by the following date, you know, and then also timing that around, I think Tracy touched on this, but I want to reiterate, Don't do it in the middle of the busiest day of billing. Find the time after the first of the month, for example, that works. Your communication is planned. Put up notices on your front door saying, please, check for this, and set deadlines. We'd like you to please log into the parent portal. If you have mass texting messaging through the app, or texting, communicating with your parents with a link to the parent portal, asking them to update. Typically, we don't hear back much after that transition. It goes pretty well for folks. Tracy, have you heard much back?
No. Typically, once we have worked with you to make that transition as smooth as possible, there is one point. So if you're doing a Vault ID transfer, the moment we request those Vault IDs, anybody who's entered a card after that point will need to be re-entered, but we will send you a list of all the families that need to be re-entered, so that way you can contact them and let them know that their card needs to be re-inputted.
And that's for credit card, Visa, MasterCard, American Express.
That's right.
Does that include ACH, the vaults?
No, because I think the ACH we can do.
Okay.
I'll have to double check with Paula on that one, but I'm pretty sure the ACH information, because it's just frozen there, we retokenize those when we do the setup.
Got it.
I don't think that they're impacted.
Okay.
Love it. And I know too, Trey kind of touched on this, but I don't know if there's anything additional, Trey, that you have on how the switch and process went, the transition, just because I know in the chatter too, a lot of people are worried about that piece, but you touched on it a little bit. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add on that.
I mean, it was pretty easy for us. We'd filled out the application. We did pause to wait until the start of the new dance year. So like I mentioned, we announced it at the end of July to go live with it in August. And we took our August tuition out mid-August, and from there it was fine. So agree on, I think we got a quote starting in the spring as we started to even think about it. And so, from there it was, we knew the timing of what needed to be completed when, and then submitted everything so that we were good to go, and then just waited for the vault transfer, until July.
Awesome. Thank you. And Tracy, we've touched on this, but submitted by Susan, would I be switching service providers for taking credit cards?
Yes, so Jackrabbit Pay, as Urena mentioned, it's its own processing, in-house processing. So you would be moving to us, converting to us.
Awesome. Urena, we did have a few kind of support related questions just on discounts and payment plans, if you want to guide them. Just submitted by Sarah and Tim with a similar one from Belle. How do I apply discounts, offer installments? How can I bill more efficiently?
Yeah, that's perfect. I want to, if you don't mind, Ashton, I kind of feel like
Yeah.
I can combine this and then the one below it in terms of how to set up multiple payment plans to automatically withdraw. So keep in mind, some of the functionality is Jackrabbit softwares, the posting, the discounting, the frequency, and that is really robust. I mean, you can do automations with Jackrabbit, you can set up favorites or templates with Jackrabbit to try to make that as efficient as possible. That is something that, depending on your use case, everybody bills differently. I would highly recommend scheduling a call with support and saying, this is what I'm doing. Like, gosh, we get so many clients in support saying, I'm sitting there posting every single fee one at a time because they're that insecure about the batch processing. Run through that with our team, talking about your discounts, talking about special military discounts, talking about special scholarship discounts. Ask them everything and get through that process. The payment side of it is the Jackrabbit Pay, which is generated through the Jackrabbit product. And that payment frequency, again, you can set up, and this is Jackrabbit functionality, for them to be withdrawn on the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month. You can set it up automations, you can have it run automatically on a certain date of a month. So all of that class functionality that supports the payment processing, I can't encourage you enough. It's one of the most robust areas of Jackrabbit. It feeds into your revenue reporting in Jackrabbit. It's critical. I cannot recommend enough booking a call with support to make sure that that is as time efficient for you as possible.
Yes, definitely second that. Get our support. Our support team's amazing. So ask them, they'll answer for you. Last couple ones here, and I do want to save some time too. I know we have some in the chat. So Tracy, submitted by Nikki, what is the comparison to existing safe setup? If you just want to talk high level, and then Nikki, maybe schedule a call to get into the nitty gritty, I think would be helpful.
Absolutely. So as far as the timeline, because operations, the transition process, things like that, we typically see people within a week fully set up. And again, that depends on how quickly you fill out the application, how long you sit on the quote for. Typically, once you've booked the call and talked to us, if you respond right back after you've read the quote and say that you're ready for the application, your application could be approved as early as the same day. I've seen it that quickly. Typically, it's 2 to 3 business days, depending on, what information needs to be verified. But I have also had people that have sat on their application for months. So that part of it is definitely that's on you. Effect on customers, I think Trey did a great job of communicating with his clients. So again, the communication is key as far as how it impacts your customers. I don't think outside of that there's really anything that would have an effect on them. Cost for add-ons like tap to pay terminals. That is, we have 2 different terminals that you can choose from. So one has a printer included in it, the other does not. And they're 2 different prices, but that's something to discuss in a phone call for sure, depending on what your needs are.
And you would need a new one if you converted to pay. I think I saw a question out there. They have to be encrypted, so.
That's right.
Trey, anything else just from your switch and save? Anything additional on the operations, the effects on your customers?
Yeah, it's been pretty seamless for us.
Awesome.
I'll give you your $50 later, Trey. I'm just
Yeah. We'll reward you.
Oh, now I'm in trouble. I'm teasing.
No. Urena, this was submitted by Susan. Can parents pay through the app if it's created?
Absolutely. So I assume that they're talking about the mobile app, Jackrabbit Plus, and so you can certainly accept payments typed through Jackrabbit Pay.
Perfect. Tracy, submitted by Molly. What are the decline processes like? I know we talked about the ACH. I did see in the chat a little bit, just like on credit card declines. I don't know if they are wanting to know anything on that here, but any additional information on the decline?
So with credit card declines, like Urena had mentioned earlier, they are right away. You know instantly whether it's an approve or a decline. Decline transactions have a 30 cents per transaction decline fee, whereas ACH, it's $8 per occurrence. So you can recoup the ACH decline fee 100%.
Awesome. Urena, this one was submitted by Peter. How can you save money from all the merchant fees, putting more money to our bottom line?
So merchant fees are, there's a lot of knowledge. If you Google this in America, I mean, in Europe, they are doing a lot more in the payment stack to sort of help consumers with the credit card processing fees. That has not hit in the United States. Those rates are, certainly Jackrabbit has an input into those rates, but those rates, start off by what Visa and MasterCards charge Jackrabbit. And so our rates are pretty dang industry standard. I think they're even better than some of our competitors. Especially if you are a very large processor or have historically been processing for many years versus a brand new customer with less processing volume. It's worth a conversation with our team to ask for a rate review. Surcharging is one element to help people recoup some of those costs. That was the intent as we started to receive a lot of requests for that. We pay 30 cents per transaction to Visa and MasterCard. We just pass that on to you. That's nothing that we set out. I will go so far as to say, because I think there's a question coming up too, it's a wily group of folks, people, or like when you look at statements from different processors, they all categorize and charge fees for things differently across the board. And so we do have a tool that allows you to do a rate comparison. Sometimes they charge you a monthly fee. Jackrabbit doesn't do that. And everything that you would be responsible for is provided in the quote. as I mentioned, in a table of fees up front.
Perfect. And two last ones here. Tracy, we had some similar questions from Liz and Susan just around bank account payments and understanding like bookkeeping. So can you touch on these ones a little bit about the bank accounts, bookkeeping steps in general?
So with the bank accounts, like I mentioned, they are now automated as far as the failed payments. And I think that as far as bookkeeping goes, it depends on if you're using QuickBooks or not. And if you're using QuickBooks, we do have QuickBook experts for that integration that I would encourage a call. So that's through our support. And they can help walk you through setting up all of the, I don't even remember what they're called, all the categories. Is that what it is, Urina? All the categories.
Anne's doing this.
Yeah. And that way they can get it set up properly so it's going to match the way that it should, and you have
And there is a
everything.
transition there because we're doing net deposit, right? So, you know, with your current processor, you're getting that lump chunk taken out at the end, whereas with Jackrabbit, it's the net amount. So what you get in your bank account is already free of fees, if you will. So it does require a bit of a transition. And Tracy's right. Meet with our QuickBooks team and they'll help you get you straightened out and, you know, make you aware of all the reporting so that you can reconcile some of the reporting that is within the Jackrabbit Pay. Your virtual console is extremely robust, right down to every single fee per transaction.
And then just to speak a little bit more to, I just read this. She was talking about refunds in the virtual terminal. I think that's for the ACH payments. So with right now, ACH refunds have a two-step process. Is that correct, Anne? That it's still, that hasn't been released yet, the refund in? Oh, you're on mute.
The refund in, what were you going to say?
In Jackrabbit for the ACH payments?
That's just been released, right?
Yeah, that's released. Yes, they are available. Yes.
Okay, so then my information, I've been off on PTO for a couple days.
Okay, you're allowed that.
You're fast and hard.
I
Tracy,
had
I'm
to
with
think
you.
about it for a minute. So.
Yep. No.
So yes,
I
as
mentioned
far
that
as
earlier. Yeah.
ACH refunds go, you can now refund in Jackrabbit. So you're no longer having to bounce back and forth between your pay console, which is your virtual terminal, and Jackrabbit. So you can do it all in one place.
Awesome. And last but not least, Irina, submitted by Alyssa, what are the main differences between this and iClass Pro?
I can go based on what I've heard. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't have a lot of facts. It's based on, you know, information that our clients come to us with, or people who are converting from iClass to Jackrabbit come with. My understanding is that we're cheaper. Across the board, I believe that they did an adjustment that allowed us to provide a cheaper rate. But again, as I mentioned, if you have statements from your existing processor and provide them to Jackrabbit, we can find that information out for you in advance. Okay. We have a tool for that. I believe that we offer the surcharging option. I'm not certain that iClass Pro does. My instinct is they do not. And then the proactive chargeback assistance. I know that for some of you that seems like a non-issue, but if you are in a region, I mean, gosh, Tracy, some of the ones from the One Swim School that you see on a weekly basis, I mean, it is hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars. And so an 87% win back rate is huge. That is beyond industry standards, is my understanding. So that service, if that's a concern for you, is something that we offer that I believe iClass does not. And just overall, I'd really strongly encourage you all just have the conversation. It's a non-committal conversation. It is a fact-finding mission. It's transparency, and you know the team can give you as much information on rates and comparison and functionality as available.
Love that. Thank you. I do want to, I know we're coming up on time and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but also get to some of the questions in the chat because I thought there were a lot of great ones. So just to kind of wrap this up, we talked a lot about a surcharging. So just to kind of recap it, a third of our Jackrabbit Pay clients are utilizing surcharges, finding success in this, and we continue to see the numbers grow, which is great. Chargebacks, the second key piece here with Jackrabbit Pay. We found with research, small businesses can expect to lose 2/3 of all of those. Again, with Jackrabbit, we're seeing success, 87% win back rate. We do have a case study in how one of our clients actually increased their own chargeback win rate after moving over to Jackrabbit Pay. So something QR code you can check out, go back and watch and check that out as well. And then what I want to do is look at some of the questions in the chat. So we will probably go just a couple minutes over. So if you want to stay, excuse me, get your questions answered. While we're looking at the chat, Urena and Tracy, if you can kind of help me too. But while we're looking at the chat, up here on the screen, on the left side, you're going to see a QR code. If you are not with Jackrabbit yet, you want to, again, look at us with the class management and payment processing together. That QR code will go to a demo with our amazing team, help you get started. If you're a current Jackrabbit client looking to switch from a previous processor or just wanting to learn more, ask some of these questions that maybe were in the chat that you didn't get answered, on the right is the QR code if you want to go ahead and scan that. So with that, let's take a look at some of them. I'm just going to go from bottom up if you guys see one.
I apologize, Ashton. So we're going to try and quickly answer some of the questions.
Some of the ones from the bottom, yeah. If someone wants to even come off chat, if there's a really earth-shattering question you want answered, you want to come off mute and ask that too. We'd be happy to.
I feel like we've been watching them. If we switch to Jackrabbit Pay but do not uncharge. So the cost comparison, that's something that you should get a quote, Candace, in terms of, you know, providing. We can look at your processing if you're an existing Jackrabbit client and then, you know, provide you with a quote for that.
I did see Tracy and Urena, one that I think came up a couple of times is our customers that are using CNH. Some of them were mentioning if I don't want to surcharge, chargebacks are not a problem for us. And I have to wipe all of the credit cards to get new. Is there savings for me to switch over to Jackrabbit Pay? Or why would I do that if I'm not saving money, I'm not surcharging? I thought that was a good question. If it's something we can touch on, or I don't remember who asked it. I thought I saw it a couple
sort of try to
times.
weave it into one of my answers, but I agree with you. I would get the rate quote and cost comparison first off. That's the starting point. I think time is money too in terms of functionality, right? So some of the things like Google Pay being offered that will not be offered with CNH. You know, what else? And what are we talking about? Apple Pay, customer service, all of those things, not having to go to a third party. I mean, those are just cost considerations too in, you know, the overall big picture. The team's really well versed. A lot of them, you know, they started off in support, understanding the Jackrabbit product, and then expanded into the e-payments market. So you can ask them anything.
Yep. Love that. I did see right here, Nikki seconded it. So I remember seeing this above, but it got lost in the chat. How does PCI validation work with Jackrabbit Pay?
Tracy?
So PCI validation, I'm not sure.
It's not like it is with SafeSave where you have to do it annually, true?
That's true. So it's basically we complete it for you during your setup process. You just have to sign and agree. You can download it and you can read it over and then go back, I believe, and sign it. But you do get a copy. It is an annual thing, but it's very seamless. It's done from within your pay console.
Within your portal, yeah.
Yeah, so you just go in and you just re-sign it. So it's not going to be where, you know, you're getting these emails that say making it urgent that you have to do it. It's just going to be a gentle reminder letting you know that it needs to be completed this year. So
awesome. Well, thank you. Those were the, yeah.
I'm going to lump two together that I saw in the chat.
Thank you. Yes.
That should be very easy or quick to answer. So is Jackrabbit Pay only for tuition payments? And does a person need a Jackrabbit account to purchase something through us?
So the answer is no, it's not just tuition, it's any transaction. So that means that surcharging can also take place on costume fees, recital fees, you know, pro shop, you know, items, what have you. It's on all transactions. Does somebody have to be a Jackrabbit client to purchase something? If you're using the Jackrabbit store with Jackrabbit, no. It depends on what you're looking for. Tuitions, yes, those are attached to a family typically, but using the Jackrabbit store with Jackrabbit, if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. It's almost like a functionality where it pops up a screen and there is a general family for people that are not in your database that allows you to charge and track those sales.
So for your walk-ins.
Yes.
Awesome. I think those were the biggest ones I did see. There were quite a few of chatter in there. I don't know if someone's still on the call wants to come off mute. Otherwise, I would suggest just scheduling a call with our pay team. This gave you a lot of great information. They're awesome people to work with, so they will give you even more details than what we gave here. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for your time today. We do have another one next month, so encourage your friends, your studio owners, swim school friends. We will have one in November and December to wrap 2026 up. So thank you all for your time. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, you guys.